Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks for tuning in here. Sunday, September 15th, the Jaguars have just lost to the Browns in their regular season home opener. Jaguars lose to the Cleveland Browns 18-13. Instant reactions here. We're going to have deep dives into offense, defense, special teams, everything that went into this Jaguars loss to put the Jaguars now at 0-2 in a hole to start the 2024 campaign. They've got the Buffalo Bills coming up next on Monday Night Football and then the Houston Texans. So not going to get any easier for your Jacksonville Jaguars here. They fall to 0-2. This was a team loss in every sense of the word, in my opinion. The offensive line, in my opinion, again, is the biggest issue right now. From a personnel standpoint, I don't think the offensive line is good enough. I don't think it's being coached well enough by offensive line coach Phil Rauscher. They cannot rely on the offensive line to come through in any situation that's critical. And it's not a specific player. Although today, I think Cam Robinson certainly had a tough one. Cleveland Browns have a great defensive line, though. They obviously do. So there's going to be games, there's going to be situations where the Jaguars' offensive line performs better than it did today. But certainly you cannot rely on this offensive line against one of the better defensive lines in football. And I put that on personnel, and I put that on coaching. You also had a team offensively that was not getting to the line quick enough, was not getting the snap off quick enough, was not communicating quick enough. They looked delayed. They looked slow in front of their own stadium, their own hometown crowd, right? Like, it's one thing if you're having issues getting the ball off on the road, hostile environment. No. This is in front of your hometown crowd, and you cannot get the job done from a pre-snap standpoint. That's unacceptable. Officiating was super weird on both sides. Obviously, the Browns had way more penalties, but it was just a weird game officiating. So many illegal shifts, more than I've ever seen in a game. Some odd calls on both sides, missed calls on both sides. So officiating definitely, I'm not going to say it hurt the Jaguars because, again, the Browns had more than double the penalties and like 100 penalty yards, but it was weird. Certainly weird. Brian Thomas Jr., how are you not going to get this guy more involved down the field? The one time you target him down the field, he picks up 66 yards. Okay. Like, how are we not targeting him more? Again, I mentioned Cam Robinson was awful in pass protection. Brandon Sheriff continues to really struggle in the run blocking department. That's mightily frustrating. Look, Trevor Lawrence. I am a Trevor Lawrence truther. I believe in Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback, every day of the week. He was not good enough today. He missed some opportunities. But then you also see missed opportunities by wide receivers, missed opportunities by the offensive line. Probably some coaching that is not perfect in specific situations. Play calling not perfect in specific situations. The supporting cast around Trevor Lawrence, even if Trevor Lawrence is not playing perfect, which he's not, there's times where he's got to get rid of the football, times where maybe he could be more accurate. He didn't play well enough. The offensive line didn't play well enough. The receivers did not play well enough. The coaches did not dial it up well enough. It can be all of these things at the same time, and it was in this one. It absolutely was. Kudos to Buster Brown, competing his butt off as a backup, so physical. But look, he doesn't have the athleticism in certain situations. On these crossing routes, it's easy for these receivers to get past him, to get a step on him. So, credit to him for playing physical, coming downhill, making tackles over and over and over again. But still, it's frustrating when you just can't cover a receiver running across the field. I thought Andre Sisco and Antonio Johnson continued to be disappointing. And again, this is on first glance, first watch. We are going to go back and break down everything we saw, offensively, defensively, and special teams wise, throughout the next couple days. But I did think that Andre Sisco and Antonio Johnson were disappointing for the second straight week, which it's one thing to have not a great game against the Miami Dolphins when they're at home, they're playing fast, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Tua healthy, getting the ball to them dialing it up. But against the Cleveland Browns, disappointing. I thought Foye Oluokun and Devin Lloyd did a pretty good job overall. Again, playing physical. Foye Oluokun was playing incredibly physical in the second half. but not enough. I thought it was absolutely crazy how often Brenton Strange was targeted. It's almost like this team was like, well, yeah, we lost Evan Ingram in pregame warmups due to a hamstring injury, but we'll just give Brenton Strange all the Evan Ingram targets. Seriously? I mean, no, absolutely not. Like, you've got to pivot if Evan Ingram is hurt. Brenton Strange cannot lead your football team in targets when you have Brian Thomas Jr. and Christian Kirk. Like, what are we doing here? Give it to Brian Thomas Jr. down the field. And obviously, you know, they're struggling to figure it out with Christian Kirk early in the season. He's a guy that missed some time down the stretch in the preseason. Somehow there's some light shining in here. Pretty shocking in Duval County after the last couple weeks and the last couple games. Credit to Travis Etienne. I thought he played well, rebounded well from obviously having a really difficult week one where had a game-changing play on the negative side of things. I thought the Jaguars were outcoached in a big way by Kevin Stefanski, by Jim Schwartz. I thought, again, they were outplayed on the offensive line in a big way. The Browns, who had 2 backup offensive tackles playing in this game, I thought they did a better job handling your defensive line than your starters, which you have a full starting 5 offensive line, did against the Browns. And yeah, I mean, the Jaguars don't have Myles Garrett defensively, but they do have Josh Hines-Allen, Eric Armstead, Trayvon Walker. And like I said, this was a team loss. Cam Little's missed gimme, that loomed large. If they were down 3 points on that last drive, all you need is a field goal to win the game. And he's a rookie. Like, obviously, he's going to have some grace here, but team loss. And don't forget, like, the Jaguars offense did face an incredibly difficult test today. They did. The Browns have a great defense. Jim Schwartz is a great defensive coordinator, and they have probably the most talented defense in football in Cleveland. Bar none. Different aspects of this team disappointed at different times throughout the game. And that's on coaching all around IMO. It really is. My honest opinion. I think that the talent is here. I think that the coaching struggled today. And players made mistakes, no doubt about it. But is this coaching staff putting this group of talent in the best positions to consistently win? I don't think that they are. And that goes more towards the offense than the defense. But the Jaguars defense was inconsistent tackling, too inconsistent in coverage, and yeah, no Tyson Campbell, no Darnell Savage. That's going to hurt you. But the Browns offense is not good. And they looked decent today against your defense. They did. I mean, they looked atrocious last week against the Cowboys. They only really put up points in the second half when the game was out of reach. So the defense should play better as well. I wonder if Antonio Johnson would be playing as much right now or at all if Andrew Wingard was healthy. And look, I'm an Antonio Johnson guy. I've been a fan of the pick when they made it. I thought he should have been drafted earlier. I thought that he did a good job throughout training camp and last year and everything, but it's not looking good through these first 2 games. It's not. I ultimately think right now, though, the offensive coaching, if you want to put it on a couple things, I think the offensive coaching, play calling, scheming it up is not getting the job done, and I think the offensive line is not getting the job done. Those are the 2 biggest issues for me, but not the only issues, not by a wide margin. I thought last week offensively, it was much more about execution. The reason they weren't scoring more points this week, there were certainly execution issues, but I also thought the offensive staff just did not do good enough. Again, great test against the Browns, tough defense, but you've got to be able to score more points. You got to be able to play more consistently in the first half than you did. The players know it. The coaches know it. It's not good enough. Trevor Lawrence said after the game, we sucked. Doug Peterson was basically at a loss for words. This team looks shell-shocked for way too much of this game. You know, it's unfortunate. Jaguars 0-2. We're going to dive into this one over the next few days, and season don't stop after week 2. Jaguars got to go play the Buffalo Bills in week 3 on Monday Night Football. Houston Texans in Houston, week 4. They will finally have another home game against the Colts in week 5. Colts are struggling a little bit. We'll see how this plays out, but the Jaguars have got to turn this around pretty much immediately, or this is going to be another wasted season, and a season in which you might not be able to afford to not make changes. But they've still got opportunities to fix this. From a coaching staff level, personnel level, they've got the opportunities to right the wrongs of the last couple weeks. But they've got to do it against the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans. Much easier said than done. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear, become a channel member here on YouTube. Y'all try to have a good one.